Now, this instrument here, you're planning on using this in your next group of songs.
Right.
I just wanted you to touch on this idea that we had, that because you're interested in the using the plucked strings,
right,
because it connects to the Arabic music coming
right,
into Spain, and these texts and this interesting.
Also the quality of the
drum, yeah,
of the reedy sound of the instrument that use gut skin popular instruments actually as a very it's very similar in a way to many of the low string instruments used by the Arabs or in early Spain actually. So it has a very powerful sound. I think particularly the banjo, it brings into memory immediately images of a medieval instrument. At least whenever I heard it,
powerful images. Maybe we don't know what they are, but it's some kind of powerful association.
Very evocative of a certain time in history actually. I still don't know exactly how I am going to use it. That would be the first time I use the banjo, and I might use also the mandolin for your colleague. But I still the first piece I'm going to write that I am already working it will use banjo. I know G flute and probably English horn.
Wonderful.
Doubling in oboe and probably regular flute.
That's very.
But it's kind of a very I found a fantastic text that really is almost surrealistic in a way.
It's Ladino?
It's Ladino, but that's a very highly percentage straight Spanish. Very few words that are really of non-Spanish origin.
And you'll use the original language?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think that somehow I always found particularly Spanish very powerful. The best translation, for example, that I read from the Old Testament is the Spanish one. I mean, I read the English, I read part of the German translation, but somehow this Spanish has a certain earthiness that it reminds me very much of Hebrew in a way. And maybe it's simply my cultural background that makes me think that way. So somehow those songs are very much connected with poetry using metaphors that are natural metaphors. They are not intellectual metaphors.
They're in our bones.
Apples and gazelles and and it's very biblical in a way. And particularly many of the Ladino poems do use directly quotations of psalms or parts of the Bible. Sometimes it's very difficult to realize where the quotation is, because it seems to be that they don't use more than 3 words.
Because everyone knows.
Exactly. So they would say, I sat and wept, from, and then you connect it with, by the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept, thinking about whatever, Zion or something. So in a way, if you're a religious person, you will connect immediately. I am not a religious person. I don't connect immediately. I only connect when I happen to know the provenance of the text. So there is always connections with religious references.
Well, you're not a religious person, but you're someone who has a deep appreciation of these primal stories.
Well, yeah. No, I am not a religious person, but if you ask me what is the most important thing in life, I would say religion. so sure. So basically, I have already. I didn't select yet all the texts, but I have 2 texts, and I probably will be starting to work in another week, 10 days. As soon as my situation in Vermont settles down a bit.
Well, we're very excited that soon maybe you'll be starting. And how is the barn?
The barn, it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, it's torn down, and
it's just a square hole in the ground.
And will you rebuild?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Also the other thing I said to you is that probably I might use all the instrument in all the songs, but probably I will have a preference of obligatos, a certain emphasis on one or two instruments or three instruments per song that somehow for some reason will, in texture and color fit at the kind of image, a literary image that, that I might, have in my mind. So
yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and I thought that might also give kind of basically have all the instruments, but some of them being in the foreground and the others in the background, and they, and then as the piece moves along, all instruments kind of move into the foreground, background, middle ground, and have a certain continuity in terms of the orchestral imagination for the whole 4 or 5 songs that I plan to do. So.
Wonderful.